Welcome to another episode of Thinking Like a Bank, where we show you how to think like a bank by applying the same strategies and principles that banks use to help you find more financial freedom in your life. I'm your host, Sari Ibrahim. Today, I'm interviewing Angie Grimm. She is the lead college funding professional at College Solutions LLC in Amarillo, Texas. She obtained a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from the University of Nebraska. She prides herself in helping students make an informed educational decision to pursue their educational goals, as well as assisting parents in setting up a solid financial plan with no unnecessary risks to meet the upcoming expenses of college for their student. Angie has researched and developed extensive knowledge about the college financial aid system, benefiting her clients with advice and strategies that most parents don't think about or have access to when saving for and paying for college. Angie has worked with hundreds of students and families over 15 years in maximizing the college admission and financial aid process. She resides in Amarillo, Texas, with her husband, Mike, and they have two grown children. Angie, welcome to our podcast.
Hi, Sari. Thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, thanks for joining. I'm excited to interview you and get to know a little bit more about your business model. I think generally what we're going to talk about is college planning, not just traditional financial planning, but more so on the college planning side. Before we get into that, tell us more about you and your background.
Yeah, excellent. So I have been working in the college planning space for about 15 years now, and I had an opportunity to join a financial firm 15 years ago. And when you work, with families as you're going through their process, most parents have two concerns for their financial future. How do they going to navigate retirement? And most parents want to help their kids pay for college. So they're their top two goals. And we learned very quickly that we wanted to become experts in that arena to guide parents through the single most expensive endeavor they're going to do for their child. And we have, we've just had an extensive study of how this process worked with financial aid, scholarships, admissions, and how to navigate it in the most tax efficient way. So I've learned this, process through our firm. And, I have a background as a general business degree. I'm more of a generalist when you personality test me. So this was really a good fit for me. But now I've become a specialist and expert on college planning while we're helping parents keep their retirement intact. And I've helped my own kids go through the process. I have two grown kids, successfully navigate it so we can understand the thoughts and feelings that parents are under, because my husband and I went through that ourselves with our kids.
And tell us more, what does it mean? Like, for example, I come meet with you as a client right now. I like college planning. Kind of like, what does that mean? Some of the things you're looking for, the steps that you're taking during that planning process?
Yeah, so we specialize in late stage college planning, not because we want to, but because that's when most parents tend to start to engage in the process as well as their student. So meaning freshman, sophomore, junior year in high school, and then flows into senior year. So we offer a comprehensive program that not only focuses on the student working through admissions, finding the right fit college academically and socially, while we're helping parents find what is the right fit financially. How do we budget plan for college? Most people are not putting a budget type of plan towards their college decision with their student. So we offer comprehensive programs that help students navigate through admissions as well as the parents. So we're really proud that we do both sides of the equation.
Got it. So you're not only helping the parents pay for college and afford college, but also on their own financial side, like their retirement plans. And I think that eventually they become the same thing, right? College planning and retirement planning eventually become the same thing, because whatever the parents save on college, they use for retirement income.
Absolutely, because a lot of dollars when we meet people in the sector are mostly going towards retirement.
Mhm.
And we talk to families and tell them the key to paying for college is liquidity. And we don't have liquidity in a traditional financial vehicle for retirement. So we're balancing that, not only saying, here's how you're going to help your kiddos go through this with the least amount of debt on you and them. We want to make sure we can help them recapture those dollars for their long-term retirement, because you could loan your way all through college. A lot of students do. But a parent cannot loan their way through retirement, and they have to be financially solvent to be able to do those things. And so it is a holistic planning. We're looking at every student, every dollar that they have very comprehensively to see what is their cash flow strategy and how they want to help their kiddos And that takes every financial thing they're doing into account. And so we do really focus on what the end goal is too for retirement. We want colleges to be a little speed bump along the way that
Mhm.
they pass over and can recoup from it very quickly to keep their retirement on track.
And what are some of the tools you use that to help clients during the planning process?
Right. So we are one experts in knowing what kind of financial aid family is going to get. Most parents don't have any idea of what their net cost will be at the end of the day. So we have a lot of different calculators and a search platform, one to help students and parents understand what is the net cost of these schools? What are the sticker prices now? What's the piece that they're going to be able to break off in a scholarship to try to go there cheaper? Some of our private Texas colleges for this next year, Sari, are going to be in the 80,000 per year
Wow.
range. That's their sticker price. So if we look at paying full pay at one of these private colleges in Texas, 80,000 times four is $320,000 investment. Okay. So they need to know those things up front, that if that's even a school they need to look at. So we have calculators and tools for them to understand that. And then we take them through this full financial scrub to understand what kind of financial aid are they going to get. And if they're going to be full out of pocket pay, we are looking at how are they going to do that. So sometimes it involves, we have discussions about, should you access home equity? Should you maybe redirect some of your retirement dollars into some liquidity? Sometimes it's just a cash based account, right? Sometimes we are looking at maybe some annuities for a
Hmm.
younger child. And then most of the time, we're looking at a mutual dividend paying overfunded cash value life plan where
Hmm.
parents can put money into that, borrow it out with a non-direct recognition loan, keep their money working so they don't have that lost opportunity cost of dollar. That is key because no one else in the financial sector is talking to those parents about lost
Right.
opportunity cost on their money. And that's a huge factor to not affect their retirement.
In other words, instead of just taking, for example, of cash, building it up over time, and then when the student goes to college, you just subtract from that cash, and by the time they're done with college, you have zero. Instead, you could build up this cash reserve, take out a loan against this cash reserve, which is the mutually owned life insurance policy. You take out a loan against it, and then you pay it back throughout time, maybe even way after college, after the student graduates college. And then by the time you retire, you recouped all those dollars you've spent on college, and now you have your retirement plan still in place. It wasn't affected by your kids going to college.
Right. Yeah, it is it is it's a Swiss Army knife of an asset, right? It can do multiple things,
Mhm.
right? So many parents will come in the door with maybe some 529 saved. So we help them talk about how do they first pull money out of that 529 to still maybe even get a tax credit, right?
Yeah.
And then what are the other dollars that could go into that liquid asset that they can touch and feel and use with no penalty? And that non-direct recognition loan, and it's truly a brilliant loan process when we really take a look at that. You're very familiar with that, so am
Yeah.
I, right? But we have to educate people on this valuable asset feature because most of the time, Sari, when first one or two meetings with people, they're talking about, I guess I'm going to have to get some private loans. Those are the worst loans you have to take because you got to start paying them back right away. When you borrow from a financial institution, you're on their clock of repayment, not your own, right? Are you going to amortize it over 10 years, 15, 20 years, to pay that money back for your student? If you can use a different type of self-guided, self-financed, so to speak, right, loan,
Mm.
you're in control of your payback, you're in control of your terms, you're in control of the time frame, right? And the arbitrage of the small amount of interest you're going to pay to yourself versus next year's loan, if a parent wants to borrow from the government to help their student go to college, they'll be looking at a 9% interest rate factor.
Wow.
The interest goes all to that financial institution. In this case, it's actually the federal government. So they get rich off of that. They make all the interest, right? And at the end of it, you've just paid all that money. You're happy you helped your kiddo, but your net worth is way less
Mhm.
because you gave all that dollar to someone else.
Right, definitely. And I want to go back to something you mentioned that college now is around 80,000 a year, and then you multiply it by 4 years. But really, it's not times 4 years, right? It's really times 5.5 years on average.
Yeah, on average, it can be 5.5, because students are going in with no direction.
Mhm.
They're not sure what they're going to do. they might change their major, two, sometimes three times.
Wow.
Now, I'll take one step back on that 80,000. An average school in Texas for a public college is about 30,000.
Okay.
So even looking at those figures, that's quite a vast range, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah,
But
definitely.
even that 30,000 times 4 to 5, 130 to
Mhm.
160,000 for one child for your first piece of paper. It's a bachelor's degree. We're not talking about grad school. They're not walking out, being a lawyer or a doctor or, a master's in anything yet. It's our first piece of paper. And parents are shocked every time we educate them on these costs because it just rises by 6 to 7% a year. They are on a pace that's not keeping up with wages for parents.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think inflation on average is around 3% a year, but with education costs, specifically college costs, it increases more than that, as you mentioned, 6-7% per year. So that's just a much. So that means you need to be earning around that amount per year just to keep up with inflation. I remember when I first started college, I did the FAFSA to apply for financial aid, and there were questions on there pertaining to income and assets. Can you break that down? Like, what is that application asking? And then what are the differences between like the asset count and then the income section?
Right. So as of last year, the federal government rolled out a new FAFSA form and a new formula behind it. So as we educate parents year over year, Sari, it's not the form itself, it's the data that goes into the form. So every single family, regardless of income level, should apply for financial aid.
Hmm.
Now they might not show need on paper to get need-based aid, but it completes a picture to the college of what is that family eligible to pay, what are they able to pay possibly in their one-sided formula for need-based financial aid. So the biggest factor in there is parental earned income, but they also do look at your liquid cash assets in parents' realm at about a 5% factor. So we're talking about savings in the bank, CDs, straight mutual funds, not retirement accounts, money markets, 529s, all this liquidity that you've saved up is also going to be taken account into the factor, as well as many times parents don't realize 20% of a child's asset. So if you have an UTMA you had for your student or
Hmm.
grandparents have really like put a CD in for your young child and they have 10, 20, 30 grand in the bank, that's built into the factor of about 20%. So oftentimes we've met with a lot of families that they're saving in all the wrong places and it decreases their eligibility for financial aid. Now, assets that are protected are your retirements, 401k, 403b, your TSP, anything labeled retirement, right? That's all protected from the formula, as well as a Roth IRA, cash value life insurance, and annuities. Those are exempt assets from reporting, and your primary home residence equity. So the FAFSA is a tricky thing. Many parents don't apply for it, but they should year over year in case they have an extenuating circumstance. But many just choose to discount themselves out of the process. If you want one of these federal loans,
Hmm.
you have to file for federal financial aid to get it. So that is the
Hmm.
FAFSA filing. And we walk our parents through it year over year. We come alongside them and make sure that they put their information in right so they don't have opportunities to make errors on that really important form.
So, for example, if there was a client that the parents had, for example, $500,000 in cash and money market accounts, and then they would have to obviously disclose that on the application. But if they during the college planning process they move that money into a life insurance policy or annuity, then they could lower that amount, the amount that should be disclosed on the FAFSA application. Did I get that right?
Yes, you are actually very versed on that. You've got it right. So this whole number that makes the calculation is called the student aid index. So we're looking at possible student aid index reduction. Parents need to think of the student aid index as their deductible. It's good, always good to make your deductible lower for something, right?
Mhm.
To get the maximum benefit on the other side. And so we take parents through that scenario with our proprietary software, showing them, here's your scenario now. Could we optimize it and improve it? And to what degree? So it helps them make decisions if it requires them to redirect money into another exempt asset. But that's not the only thing about it, right? That's just one part of a parent's, financial planning piece there. There's obviously other advantages to these assets we're talking about that are tax efficient, you know, risk adverse, principal protection. Because if you think about college, it's a finite date.
Hmm.
And parents who are coming to us are within 2 to 3 years of that finite date that they are going to be deploying that money. It's not like talking to someone now who's 50 who's going, I'm going to need that money at 67, right? Most parents are very risk adverse to that dollar they're going to set away over the next 2 to 3 years where they don't want to lose any of that money.
Hmm.
So it's not about not putting it in the market, but when you ask them what their ideal is, most parents do not want to gamble with that money in a 2 to 3 year time frame, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I heard you on another podcast talking about how there are even some situations where parents will use their, for example, their bank on yourself policy for their children, and then after the children graduate, then the children will pay back the parents through the policy. Can you touch more about how that works and why some parents do that?
Right. So most parents want to help their students to some degree, but they also say this is a common phrase. We want our student to have some skin in the game,
Yeah.
but we really don't want them to take on the federal direct loan. So you could have a conversation, and we educate our clients on this. Make a family type contract where you say, okay, Sari, I'm going to loan you some money. Dad and I are going to help you out. And we're going to sign this, promissory note. And at the end, you get to pay us back. Now we're going to be a compassionate lender.
Hmm.
We're going to make sure we know what's going on with you in your life. And do you have a job? And what's the level of your income you can pay back? So you could take out of your policy, loan that there. You're paying cash to the college. Your student only owes you now, right?
Hmm.
And so it helps build your money back for your retirement without sacrificing, and you didn't lend from somewhere else. Because what if your young adult child gets into trouble? What if
Yeah.
they get laid off?
Hmm.
What if they're not making the income they think they should make in those first 5 years out? You could have a progressive scale to that, right? So you're able to put that type of strategy to work if that makes sense for your family to stay out of the federal loan debt. It's a crisis in America, Sari. We've got
Hmm.
$1.8 trillion outstanding in student loan crisis. Our mission at our firm is not to continue to contribute to that
Hmm.
with education, family by family.
Yeah, as they say, it's really easy for an 18-year-old to get, $500,000 in student loans, but almost impossible to get a business loan or a loan for another project. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's such a one-sided factor
Yeah.
that they are easy to get into. Obviously, we know they're not easy to get out of and pay
Yeah.
back in the future. And your 18-year-old is not well versed in the financial world. They're looking to you as a parent to guide them and counsel them so they don't get in, or bite off more they can chew,
Mhm.
right? And so it's still one of these things that institutions, if you have pretty good parental credit, they're willing to loan it on your student's potential, not actual collateral and not actual work history to say, can they pay this back? That's why the rates are so high.
Mhm. Now, with college planning, there's, I guess, generally two sides. There's the financial planning side, which is that talks about the money, the assets, and then there's the non-financial side. Can you talk more about the non-financial side of college planning?
Yeah, so I think what you're trying to ask me is maybe about how do we help these students? How do we help them
Yeah.
find the right fit college, right? So we like to begin with students early high school to optimize what's the ideal amount of AP classes they should take? What's the ideal amount of dual credit classes or honor classes? What is the end goal? Where are we trying to achieve admission to? Are we trying to search for all the Ivy League colleges? Or are we trying to search for colleges that will give them, scholarships that are more of a mid-range budget type of school that are still wonderful and, a great education when they walk out of there? Or are we looking, just for local? So we have to take our students through that process to help them understand, one, what are they good at with some type of career assessment, right? Then to help them go visit colleges, find out what is the fit that they want, and then optimizing their admission applications and their essays to get into college, as well as possible ACT, SAT retake, comprehensive admission planning so we can find the right fit. Because your student could be aiming for Harvard, but when we look at the reality of their transcript, that might not be the right fit for them academically because they might not have access to gain admission. We need to find a college that they are in the zone for ideal admission factors to get a lot of yeses. And sometimes those conversations are difficult, but the students appreciate it. We want to set the student up for success in the admission process to get as many yeses as possible. Maybe apply to what we'll call 1 or 2 reach schools, but we need 4 to 5 targets and at least 1 safety net. That's how we help parents and students categorize that.
Yeah, that sounds like a conservative approach. It sounds like a safer way because instead of like having your hopes on one college and not getting in, there's backup. There's multiple layers of backup, it sounds like. So that helps a lot. Do you help as well with like, for example, I don't know if there's like the ACT and SAT. It's been a while since I've taken these. It's been for me. But do you also prepare students on that side with like the testing side?
Yeah, absolutely. We offer test prep for our students. Sometimes digital test prep, self-paced, is ideal for one student. Sometimes for students, they need to hire a local tutor where that person is sitting shoulder to shoulder with them on the practice test because maybe the student won't do it unless someone is right there in the room with them, right? But in our software, we're able to have students understand the target they're aiming for. Not just, well, I'm hoping to get a 28. I'm hoping to get a 1350. Hoping and planning are 2 different things, right?
Yeah.
So in our search software, it shows that student what were the ideal test scores from the year before. So if we're a little below those, it helps the student understand I have to raise that to maybe be in the realm of contention for those things. Or I'm already there, and if I improve that, I'll be in the top percentage of their applicants, which usually means, Sari, more scholarships flow to that student when they're in the top 25% of applicants, say, to a certain type of college. More scholarships. So there's still a lot of money tied to a high GPA and a high test score. It's been a shift. The last couple of years, colleges went to test optional. But more colleges for this upcoming academic year are coming back, reversing. Harvard's saying, no, we still want to see your SAT. Yale is saying, no, we need to see your SAT, where they went optional because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's still one of the single biggest predictor factors to colleges, how well that student will do at college. So they still want that, much to students' disappointment, to be optional. It's a huge part of the process.
Well, that's interesting. Now, can you kind of give us an idea, like how can the listeners connect with you, learn more about you, and what can they expect from the first couple phone calls reaching out to you?
Yeah, so we have a really great system on our website. It's collegesolutionsllc.com. We're located in Amarillo, Texas, but we help students all over the country, not just in Texas. Because of our network and our software and our research we've done over the past decades, we can help a student aspiring to go to college anywhere. So they can schedule a consultation with us. Our first consultation with the family is to learn what are they trying to achieve and where is their student at in the process? Where are they trying to go? And are they on track, 1, to gain admission that they're looking for? 2, are they on track financially to provide at the level the parents want to? And so we show them if they have some gaps, where they might be missing. And then we offer a lot of different services that parents can engage in, a multitude different amount, and we customize different packages for each family if we feel they're a good fit for that. We also offer multiple webinars every month. It's a college financial planning educational webinar. We have some local in our area, and everyone can find all the dates on our website as well as our Facebook page. So that's a quick hour of information to get versed on what are these financial aid rules now? How do the colleges give out their money? And why you might want to work with an expert so you don't lose out on tens of thousands of dollars.
So it's collegesolutionsllc.com?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
We're in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay, perfect. I'll be sure to add that into the link. It was a pleasure interviewing you, Angie. It was nice having you on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to having you back on in the future.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and the conversation. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful.
Thank you. To learn more about what we do and how we can help you grow more wealth, please visit www.finassetprotection.com. That's FIN, assetprotection.com. The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purposes of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.